behind the scenes magic. So feel free to watch and enjoy while I get everything set up and ready to go. So let me see if my live is listed on the main channel page, and it's probably not. So let me find it. Bear with me here, guys. There we are. Hello! Not much is up. I'm getting ready to set everything up, Relic, so we're working on setup. Show doesn't really start until 6, but thank you for coming in. We're getting everything kind of set up and arranged. Yep, working on things, Relic. We're getting there, buddy. Trust me. It will start here shortly. OBS is fun to play with if you've ever managed to play with it. Okay, so that's lined up. Trying to set up OBS so we can start this chat. Speaking of... Hey, how's it going?
Oh, good. Can you...
You're a little distorted.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I can
Is
hear
that
you.
better?
Yeah, is it better? Guys, can you hear everything all right? I'm just waiting for comments here. I got a few people already live on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So do you want to do video, or do you just want to do a picture, static image of you? How do you want to go about it?
Just do a bit audio.
Okay, audio's fine. I'll throw up I found this weird picture of you in a devil costume.
Yeah.
Does that work?
My Halloween costume last year, yeah.
Alright, so we'll use that one. Alright. So right now, we're right now live on YouTube, as well as PlayStation Network. Show doesn't really start until 6, so anybody who tunes in now is just getting bonus content, so... in behind the scenes mess.
Hello, everybody.
Well, right now we've got 4 people in here, so and they pick up pretty quick from like YouTube as well as from PlayStation Network. Right now I'm just trying to find an appropriate image of myself, so give me a moment here, because goodness knows trying to find an appropriate image of myself is hard to do. Something that won't automatically have me stop ad revenue from like YouTube and Twitch, so let's see what I got. Show us what you got. Alright, that'll work. I'm just trying to get stuff set up so when it does show up on the one channel, everybody will be able to see everything and hear everything. At least have some video and audio as to what's going on. And like I said, if you want to tune in on YouTube or any of the other channels, we do have this live currently, so. Alright, so
Okay.
let me hide all this. Bear with me here. Let's turn that off. Turn that off. Off. Whoa, don't want to turn that off. Turn that back on. Alright, and no. Yeah, this is like me really playing with OBS and trying to sort it out as to how it works and see what we got going on. It's like my first time really playing with it in detail. Like I spoke with Libby McDermott like 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you saw that podcast or not. And that was just straight up audio. Yeah. You know Libby McDermott. She did that movie Dead Woman's Hollow.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's local, so her and I had a long... Go ahead.
The biggest problem I've ever had with Skype is once you get over 2 or 3 people in on the call, then you start getting some major audio issues.
Yeah, I went ahead and muted like all but my microphone, so anything it's picking up is actually picking up from my speakers into the camera and into everything else. So yeah, what we'll do here is when we get the show started, obviously we'll introduce you, have you say a little bit about your show, what's been going on with that, and then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of the conversation. And of course I'll have to play my usual little bit since I'm now part of this Podcaster Alliance. I don't know if you've heard or seen that yet, but anyways, I'll go ahead and play it for you now so you know what to expect.
This show is part of the Transpodcaster Visibility Initiative.
Did you hear that? Did that come?
No.
No? It did not come through for you at all?
No.
Let me try it again. Hold on. Here we go again.
This show is part of the Transpodcaster Visibility Initiative.
Did you hear it?
Oh, there was like a little mouse squeak, and that was it.
Oh, okay. Alright. Well, hopefully everybody's picking up on the audio on this. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pop over to YouTube real quick.
Yeah.
I want you to talk a little bit, and I'm going to see if it picks up. So just give me like a test word or phrase, and we'll go from there, okay?
Okay.
So say like a sentence or two.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the greatest podcast in the history of podcasts. Sasha, the Princess of Darkness, live on YouTube and PlayStation Network, ready for your listening or viewing pleasure.
All right, so let's give this a try. Let me do playback. That movie, Dead Woman's Hollow.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's local, so her and I had a All right, looks like we're good. So let me see.
Once you get over 2 or 3 people in on the call, then you start getting some major audio issues.
Yeah, I went ahead and muted like all but my microphone, so anything it's picking up is actually picking up from my speakers into the camera and into everything else. That's me. You can hear me, right? What we'll do here is when we get...
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So that means they can hear everything. All right, cool. You may not be able to hear Marissa's little thing, but it's basically saying that I'm a proud part of the Trans Podcaster Visibility Initiative. So that's what that's all about. So I'll play that clip. Worst case scenario, when I go back in to re-edit it, I will just basically touch it up there on the back end. You know how stuff goes. You've been podcasting longer than I have, so...
Yeah.
So I'll just fix it on the back end. But anyways, looks like everything sounds good. I'm looking at the Twitch feed. I know some people probably complain that they're not getting video on the Twitch feed, but it's kind of like tough because like when I tried to do video, because I'm gonna like stream the podcast live from YouTube, but it won't let me shut down the audio on OBS. And I don't know why. I think that's utterly ridiculous. But of course, there's a lag anyways, as you heard. As a result, I didn't want to do that anyhow. So I'm like, you know what? Twitch, deal with it. Watch me on YouTube. But otherwise, it's one of those little catch-22s.
Yeah, I even left a place we were doing a podcast at just because I couldn't deal with the crap that Skype was giving me anymore.
Yeah, and with this, I don't think it's going to be too bad because I've got like you on a computer on a PC at the moment, and my microphone at least is half decent, so we should be okay. So we're going to start this out here in about 10 minutes. I'll play my little bit, I'll do my introduction, then of course I'll let you come in and introduce yourself, say, hey, what you do, what's been going on with your show, because I know there's been a lot of things going on with that, so I'm curious to catch up on that, and then we'll get into the topic at hand. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm just sitting here pouring myself a shot, so I don't know if you've got video of that or not, so. My camera on my PC sucks, so I'm trying to find a better camera, and it is not working at all. But yeah, and of course, I'm getting my party started early, because once we're done, I'm heading to the bar. James wants to hang out. I don't know if he wants to come and hang out immediately after the show, or if he's just talking about tomorrow, but this bitch needs the bar. Not want, because want is childish. Needs.
Yeah.
So.
Well, after this show later tonight, I'm going to be doing, me and Carl are going to be doing about the real legacy of Hugh Hefner.
Ah, okay. You know what I'd always thought being interesting, like...
About all of the...
Go ahead. We know what I always thought would be interesting with all the hype that was around Wonder Woman for a while, and we may have to wait for the DVD release of it, but to really talk about the professor that created her and all of the scandal with her creation before it became a DC property. I think that'd be cool with Wonder Woman. Oh,
you mean the old school S&M bondage cart issues?
Yes. I think that would be a great podcast. Because it's kind of timely, because you have Wonder Woman getting ready to come out on DVD, and then on top of that, you have... what is his name? Professor... I don't want to say Professor Layton, because I know that's a video game, but Professor something or other and his Wonder Women.
Yeah.
And I'm like... I'm kind of curious about that movie, but it'd be great for a podcast, because it would be so timely. I am drinking the Cock. Cold Cock whiskey. I know it's backwards, so on PlayStation Network, but for you all who are dyslexic, hey, you've just won. You can read this. Neat, huh? I cannot figure out for the life of me how to flip the camera. Otherwise, I'd flip it so y'all can see everything the way it should be. But yeah, trust me. I'm just dealing with technical issues as it's going.
Yeah, I think my favorite Wonder Woman moment was in the later cartoon 3 years, and this villain just looked at her and he said, "The only way that you're ever going to stop me is to kill me." So she just goes.
Yeah, I liked in the Justice League cartoon how they would get away with dirty jokes. And there was this reference to the Flash, and like the Flash is saying, "Yeah, I'm the fastest man alive," and she's like, "Yeah, that's why you can't find any good dates." And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is on a show on Cartoon Network during the daytime block, and it's like, sick burn there, Wonder Woman, sick burn. But yeah, so anybody who's watching,
I liked Wonder Woman. Yeah.
Bear with me.
I liked Wonder Woman, but Robin Wright, damn, they should give her character her own movie.
Right. Hey, are you watching on YouTube?
It's like a joke that was. No.
Are you on PC or on your phone?
I have used NetSling keeping. Oh yeah, I'm on PC, but I got used NetSling keeping my desktop as clear as possible.
Ah, I heard that.
So I won't get no lag.
Well, I'm already blocking people already because you've got people dropping my favorite T words and F words, and this is why I do it. This is why there's a visibility program in place to kind of get people to become more accepting. So, Jay Motigio, whatever the hell that is, kind of name, I don't care. You're banned. C'est la vie. Bye-bye. Ta-ta for now. So long. Auf Wiedersehen. Probably understands that a lot better than anything else I just said. Yes, that was a Nazi joke. Don't everybody laugh at once.
You'll get banned on YouTube for telling Nazi jokes. Oh my lord, controversial.
Oh no. Advertisers. Oh my goodness, my advertisers just got away. Ooh. Yeah, because I get paid anything for this show anyhow. Oh well, such is life.
Well, people used to be able to make good money on there, then PewDiePie did his stupidity, and it basically burnt the whole forest down.
Alright, so Norville, we're actually talking on this show, just so you know, and I'm watching the chat, so that if you hear me talk to anybody, it's because they're on the chat typing. We are actually going to be talking about trans representation in basically entertainment, such as, like, for example, in movies, video games. I think me and Steven are more well-versed in movies and to some degree video games, but there is a wide range of things that we can talk about when it comes to the representation of transgender community in the media. So again, that's sort of like what we're going to be talking about and the things therein. So yeah, we're going to be starting this here in about 6 minutes, so that's how we roll. But yeah, I'm not surprised. It usually only takes like 10-15 minutes before I get an a-hole up in here, so I kind of enjoy it because we, you know, they get blocked, reported, and, you know, dealt with accordingly. You know, so they wind up not being on YouTube for quite a long while. And I just think it's funny. It's like, y'all think you can drop that F word and that T word without getting banned and blocked nowadays? Are y'all crazy?
Why is it that most of the people who drop that word so easily on Facebook are the ones that get caught in the closet about 5 or 10 years on down the line?
Well, it's like I always tell anybody, I'm like, I'm sorry I gave you a boner and you can't deal with it. Sorry. Deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, if you really just look at the Pornhub does it once a year. You know, the most popular adult genres on their site. There's always 2 or 3 states, they're usually conservative states, as they call them, that transgender porn is always number 1.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Zone B. I always like to do like representation. I always like to come out there and say, hey, I'm a gamer. I also like to discuss game-related topics and things of that nature. So for those of you getting ready to watch on Twitch, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Mama's not going to start that until basically I'm good and ready because OBS is being, a POS at the moment, so to speak. And you got that, of course, I would hope. A POS? Or an ID10T error?
Yeah. Short and
Oh, you're a little distorted there. Ooh. Sounds like HughesNet's screwing with your connection.
Yeah, it always does. I hate it. But if you live out in the boonies, it's HughesNet or screw you.
Yeah, well, at least hopefully the weather's clear where you're at, so I appreciate it. Oh,
yeah,
thanks.
it is clear.
All right. So, Brian, thank you for that. I'm just trying my best here. I'm a small-time horror hostess. I do some YouTube videos. You can obviously find me on youtube.com/C/Sasha, the Princess of Darkness. So definitely give it a look. I'm also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, things of that nature. And I'm very happy in life. I can't complain. But this is my kind of way of saying, hey, try to get more people out there to kind of have more exposure, to say, hey, there's more than just, the two genders that are out there, and there's more than just one way to represent life. If you look at it beyond that or past that, you're good people. And yep, I'm all about horror and I'm all about gaming, so that's what we do here. I'm going to go ahead and get this fired up. I know it's early, but I can get all the intros and everything else out of the way. So let me go ahead and pop over to OBS and get it started there. So just be a hot second here. Once I close this. And let's see if this works. If you guys are watching on Twitch or anybody's watching on Twitch, please let me know if this works. Otherwise, it's going to be an interesting day.
This show is part of the Transpodcaster Visibility Initiative.
Hello, guys. This is, of course, Sasha, the Little Bit Extra. Today we are going to have another podcast of darkness, and we always have interesting topics. Most times it usually dips into the horror community as well as solid event that affects my community, because I am part of the transgender community. Obviously, if you didn't get the memo, hi, but that's just how it is. But today we are actually going to be joined by Steve here. He's from Steve's Video Store. He had a show on Blog Talk Radio there for a while. But I'll let Steve give himself an introduction and kind of tell you about him and everything that he's about.
Well, it's still on the air, but we're working month by month now. We did a fundraiser, and we got like $200, so we're pretty good until maybe January or February next year. But there's like 4 or 5 shows that comprise the KSDA. Yeah, KSADA. We just changed the title because our former host, our funder, left, and it stands for Carl, Steve, Doc, and Donnie. And basically, Steve's Video Store is mine. We're more adult, and we deal with any kind of topic. There's nothing off limits. And then we have Carl's Music and Movie Emporium, where basically he deals with his stuff. And he's like 56, so he deals with stuff like the old drive-in, the old days in New York when he was there in the 80s. And we have Doc Sludge, who's a big nut for the 50s horror. And Donna's more of our anime girl. We pretty much do and cover everything. And I'm glad to be here tonight because I consider Sasha a very good friend of mine.
You're a good friend of mine too, because we talk quite frequently. I know we've been trying to get together to do a show on your, channel at some point. I know it's kind of been backlogged, but we're working on it. It's gonna happen, I promise. Would you care to give some people links where they can find you, some information such as that?
Well, on Facebook, look up Steve's Video Store Archive page. That's STEVE comma, apostrophe S there. It's the sorry.
It's all right.
It's the Steve's Video Store. And we have all our shows archived there. You can go to www.blogtalk.com/Geeksploitation It won't let me change that name there. But you go there and all our shows should be there too.
Well, that's great, and I'm glad that you guys are keeping it up, because I've heard so many different things. I heard that maybe the show was going away, that there was, you know how it is with the internet, rumors abound, so I'm glad you guys are still working together, and there wasn't any sort of, like, nasty falling out, or anything that is kind of frequent with our communities, I hate to say it. I even had some, like, local YouTube issues myself, and it's kind of sucked, because it's affected me with a bunch of local YouTubers that I love, and it sucks because these were people that I've worked closely with in the past, have done like collabs with, and it's humorous because it involves a situation where one of them, who's going to remain nameless even though he's a pain in the ass Canuck, I think I kind of made that obvious, but he's all time dropping certain slanderous words on Twitter, on YouTube, everywhere else, and I've even called him out on it. I'm like, dude, you shouldn't be saying that kind of stuff. It's not cool. And I'm the type of person who, I'm going to confront you about it before I take any action. Well, he continued to do so. Me being me, I'm like, you know what? It's not worth my time. I can just ignore him. Well, somebody else must have saw what he was doing and reported him, and he wound up blocked on Twitter for like weeks. Also had some issues with YouTube and ad revenue, and he was just throwing the biggest hissy fit that you could possibly imagine on it. And immediately I get the blame for it, and I'm like, you know, I wish I could take credit for it, but honestly, I didn't report you. I'm glad somebody finally did, but, you know, I wish I could take credit for it. But yeah, it's funny, I've been kind of black sheeped by a lot of local, like, YouTubers and podcasters as a result because of it. I'm like, fucking really? You're gonna take a known bigot's side? And I've literally said, hey, I wish I could take credit for it, but I didn't do this. You know, because trust me, if I did do it, I'd be like, hell yeah, I told you about this. That's why you're banned. I'm sorry, you should have listened. But me being me, I usually let people slide a little bit before I get pissed off.
Yeah, you don't take blood until you have to, and if you do, you might as well redecorate the whole room afterwards, because when you go for blood, you get it all.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But that's how it goes. You know how it is. Sorry, interruption by family. Even though I've told them, hey, I'm podcasting, so you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Such is life. But anyways, it's just one of them things where it's like, really, can we get past the drama here? We all can work together. And to me, it's like, you all kind of created this bad blood on yourselves, because essentially, you guys are taking the side of somebody who's done some things that were pretty slanderous and was called out on it, and then somebody reported him. Wish I knew who that person was. I'd love to shake their hands, but the thing of it is it's like, okay, so you're going to take that person's side when they're a known bigot, a known homophobe? Really? I'm like, you know, that's like...
I don't know.
That's like a Nazi getting nailed for, you know, saying terrible things, and then everybody has his back for free speech, because that doesn't happen nowadays, does it? Oh, yeah, it does. But such is life.
Or it's like a neo-Nazi hitting... Oh, sorry. Or it's like a neo-Nazi hitting somebody with a car and then somebody else getting on the air and saying, oh, there has to be two sides to the story. Yeah,
it's just like his side, the person who reported him, and then me, who kind of wishes I could shake the person's hand who reported him. As terrible as that sounds. But that's life, and that's the drama I've been dealing with. So I'm glad to hear at least you're not facing any drama with your show, and I'm glad to see things continue underneath a new name and a new banner, and hey, that's great. I'm glad that everybody's still working well together, so that's good to hear. So if anybody didn't catch what our topic is for today, we're going to be talking about trans representation in entertainment. And believe it or not, no, a lot of people think, oh, well, this is only a new trend. Honey child, it's not new. Not new at all. The earliest I can go back is because everybody made a big deal when Jenner came out. Jenner was all, hey, I'm Kate, deal with it. But, of course, how can I put it best? Controversial TV to begin with. The Kardashian TV show drives me nuts. I don't know why people watch it. It's just basically kills brain cells. And it kind of gives like a false representation of the trans community because not everybody's a millionaire. Not everybody can transition overnight. It doesn't work that way. Wish it did, but it don't. Trust me, you can go on GoFundMe or Kickstarter and see a bunch of people in my community trying to raise funds, and they just get bad-mouthed for it. But then you get people who are in a higher class and a higher bracket can do this shit overnight, and it's not easy. And to me, it just cracks me up because, like, oh, well, this is the first person that everybody can say that they know that's transgender, and I'm like, honey, this ain't the first person to come out publicly like that. You had Christine, and I'm probably butchering the name, Christine Jorgensen. Didn't she fight in, like, World War II or something of that? And then after the war, she came and she transitioned?
Yeah. Yeah, she did that. And don't forget the person who says that they fought on D-Day in women's underwear.
Yep, Ed Wood. Now, I don't know if Ed Wood really falls underneath, like, the traditional, like, transgender. It kind of leads into the whole drag.
Well, no, he's just more... That's where the trouble begins, because Ed Wood was what they call transvestite, who's just comfortable in women's clothing. But the problem most transgenders is most go back to Eddie Gein and say, well, he wasn't transsexual. No. He was into personality.
Right.
Dressing up as a woman to keep his mother alive. There's a little big difference between you and that.
Exactly.
Not as big as the Grand Canyon, if you ask me.
Exactly. And that's good that you bring up Ed Wood because then you have, Glenn or Glenda, which was one of, I think, the first really mainstream movies to kind of address it. Not really mainstream into the fact that it was drive-in trash, but it reached enough drive-ins where, it became a topic of discussion. It was all about kind of a really butchered, nasty version of Christine Jorgensen's story. But if you watch it and you think of the time period that it came from, it's very progressive from that particular time period. I'm surprised it got as far as it did.
Well, what happened is people were expecting something like Planet 9 from Outer Space, a very crappy, mismade movie, and what they got was a very sweet, well-intentioned message from Ed Wood of what you would think.
Right.
Ill-intentioned, but very heartfelt.
Right. And guys, if you don't know, Steve is on HughesNet, so there might be some distortion on his side or things of that issue. So we apologize in advance. That's just part of the business, so to speak. So if there's some cutouts and things of that nature, we can definitely repeat some things and bring it back up. But anyway, sorry for the little interruption there. There was a movie that you had brought up once that we were talking about, where it's got that ending where the guy takes off his wig, but I'm a man, and the other guy's like, yeah, well, we all have our problems. What was that movie? Something Like It Hot?
Some Like It Hot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Granted, it's not exactly dealing with, the transgender community, but it kind of touches on something that you don't see often. Here was a man that was interested in one of the supposed female leads, and he didn't care. He's like, look, I like you for who you are, and that's how the movie kind of ends, and you're like, what? Granted, it was done for comedic effect, but again, it was very progressive, because it showed, hey, here's a guy that's interested in somebody that, hey, is potentially, was born underneath a male genetic marker. And as a result, he's very accepting and open. And I wish there was more role models out there like that. It's not easy to find that. In fact, accepting somebody who is transgender, even as just a friend, comes with all sorts of barrages of questions. Dating for me has been a chore, because most guys are questioning, well, does this make me gay? And it's like, I consider myself a woman. If you consider yourself a man, what's gay about it? And does it really matter? I mean, especially in this day and age. I mean, come on. We're, almost to 2020 now. We're back to the roaring 20s all over again. If you're not a little gay at this point, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, and well, if you're looking for a relationship like that, you have to go into stuff like Bob Clark's She-Man.
I haven't seen that. I think I actually have a copy of it. It was with a double feature. Wasn't it on Something Weird Video just recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it with a double feature.
Yeah, with the Sins of Rachel. But the ending of that is the guy is forced to be transsexual by a guy who hated him in the army, and after his year's up, he finds out that he likes it. So he goes to the girl he met during the movie. He said, "Hey, I like being a transsexual." She goes, "Okay." And then it shows them going to a psychologist, and it says, "Well, if both of you are okay with it, then it's normal."
Right. But the thing of it is that at the end of the day, I know a lot of people like to bring up science, especially the new asshole troll that's in here now, wants to bring up science. Science, actually, when you sit down and talk about science and chromosomes, how many people here have had their chromosomes checked? Honestly. Sit down and think about it. I mean, very few people have had their chromosomes tested to make sure that they're either XX or YY or what have you. The fact of the matter is that nobody really goes for that kind of genetic testing unless you have a serious problem, unless you got web feet or your sister's somehow your mother and somehow your aunt all in one. It's just the fact that science has many different things. Look at the children of Giudices. I'm quite sure I've talked about this before, where you have kids that start out genetically inherently female and then grow penises on the offset of puberty. It happens. And let's talk about science. I mean, you've got all kinds of animals that basically, have to deal with the fact of, hey, there's not enough males in this area, so all of a sudden now I'm female. Or there's not enough females in this area, so now I'm female. You get what I'm saying? And as a result, that's just how it works.
Yeah, or the frog test, which was they put two male frogs in a tank together and let them live an entire life, and they found out after 2 or 3 years, one of the male frogs turned into a female, and they had kids.
Exactly. So science is not exactly a sound proof, because there's actually, science that proves it otherwise. And this is stuff that has happened with human beings. What was that disease that they're often accused Jamie Lee Curtis of having, and it's never been confirmed or denied, where she has essentially the chromosomal set for a male but appears female and has had children?
Yeah, they've used that many times with almost every manly female actress out there. But as I've said before, but then they go get the Playboy issue, which was one of the biggest sellers of the 80s, with the woman who did a full transition, and every guy was reading that going, "Damn, that's one sexy woman."
Exactly. It's the same way with that James Bond, one of the Bond chicks. Granted, she was only in a couple scenes.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yes. So, I mean, representation's there. You might not even know it. Granted, I'm not the type of person who's going to put on a little, frou-frou voice for everybody, because this is who I am. I've always been loud. I've always been obnoxious, regardless if I'm in pants or a miniskirt. Just how I'm built. I'm a whiskey-drinking, nasty woman. I'm not going to lie. That's just how I'm built. But, there's just way too many people out there who want to talk science, who want to talk religion, who want to talk crap. And the reality of the situation of it is that for everything that you have, science-wise, there's 10 other things that's going to disprove what you believe. There is no binary, people. We don't live in the Matrix. Me existing is not going to cause the robots to show up and terminate all of humanity. I'm sorry. Stop watching bad movies. To say the least.
Well, even in the Matrix, they say you just change one dot of the code and everything could be changed, a woman into a man and all that.
Exactly. But, that's just people with their mindsets and their beliefs. It's either science or religion, but neither one of those are a solid fact. I mean, stuff gets disproven and changed around, and there's more exceptions to the rule than the rule itself. I hate to say it. I mean, granted, yes.
Safety blankies.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the way that the world works. Accept it, deal with it. But anyways, continuing on with media, we touched on, of course, the Bond girl. One of the biggest debates that I have with horror fans is over Norman Bates. And it drives me nuts. Because granted, the latest Bates Motel kind of gets into the whole, transsexual, transvestite, transgender kind of issue, because there are scenes where Norman is dressed as a woman and picks up men. And it's kind of disturbing. Again, it's reinforcing that bad stereotype, but a lot of people have said to me, so is Norman considered transgender? And I'm like, it depends on how you look at it. And it all depends on, if you go back to the roots of the source material. It's just somebody who's had, basically, a lot of issues with their mother and then becomes obsessed with their mother after they've killed her. It's one of those type of psychological things. Again, it feeds into bad stereotypes. Not everybody who's transgender has a psychological problem.
Well, if you really watch the end of the movie, it says it's more like if you kill someone that's close to you and your love, the sheer shock of the act of what you do causes you to not believe that they're dead, and you will do anything under your power to keep that person alive. There's nothing about sexuality in that.
No, not at all. And I totally agree. But again, a lot of people like to bring it up. Then we got the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Granted, yes, they use the terminology transvestite several times. Personally, I think when it comes to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Dr. Frankenfurter basically is gender fluid. Because there are scenes where he's dressed up as Brad and banging Janet. And there are scenes where he's dressed up as Janet and banging Brad. He seems to be very fluid in who he is, who his sexuality is, and how his gender is. And a lot of people always bring up, well, they just cast Laverne Cox in that remake, and yeah, did you watch the remake? It was horrible. It was wretched. I'm surprised that O'Brien even approved of it, but that's life. And granted, I bet it was a fast paycheck too.
Yeah, well, O'Brien's pretty much a hermit now who don't want to talk to any about anything of his work, so, hey.
Yeah, and besides, all you gotta do is look at Shock Treatment. So yes, if you didn't know, there is a sequel to Rocky Horror Picture Show, and it's called Shock Treatment, and yeah, it's just weird, to say the least.
And the thing is this, and this is what Laverne Cox couldn't really put out, was Tim Curry as Frankenfurter.
Everybody in the whole theater, male or female, thought that is one sexy being.
Laverne Cox, she just didn't have the sexiness that
Tim Curry has.
Tim Curry had in the role.
Yeah. And again, I've seen several stage productions of it, and to me, it just... I don't know if somebody said, Laverna is transgender, let's cast her in that role. And I'm like, really? That's just so dumb. And again, I'm surprised that she took it, because look how much she basically tries to represent the community. I'm like, she's a better representative for the community than, Caitlyn Jenner. But again, you don't have to try to be that. It's just the way it is.
I've actually seen a Mexican version of Rocky Horror Picture Show that was worse on Univision one Halloween. They actually had a woman playing Frankenfurter. Not a transvestite, just a straight woman.
Right. Huh. That'd be interesting to see.
Which proves again, lesbianism is more suitable for the masses than transvestitism or transgenderism.
Exactly.
The hypocrisy, gotta love.
Oh yeah, you gotta love it. And it's hard pressed to find good movies that represent my community. I think like the last good one that I watched was Boy Meets Girl, or rather Girl Meets Boy, or whatever it was called. That actually had a transgender actress in it. It was an indie film. Granted, it didn't get a lot of buzz at the Oscars, but it was brilliant. I loved it because, again, it was actual representation from our community, from somebody who's lived it, been it, and done it. And I thought it was brilliant. It dealt with this, girl who was in the process of transitioning. She's got a close friend, and they get much closer at the end of the film. And I thought it was brilliant. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's worth checking out.
Oh, cool. My two favorites would have to be, of course, Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and Wild Zero.
Well, Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, in my opinion, is more, again, focusing on drag and female impersonation. Yes, there is a character that kind of saddles into the whole transgender community, but it's not exactly clear or apparent. And again, we have the cis people playing the trans community, and it's just one of those things where it's like, watching Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, and you just want to beat your head into the wall.
I already wanted to beat my head against the wall because of that movie. Was horrid. I've seen Magic Negroes in movies. I've seen Magic White Men. That was the first time I seen the Magic Transvestite in a movie that comes in and spreads their transvestitism and makes everything so beautiful and clear.
Yeah, that was a unique movie. I liked what was it called? Hedwig and the Angry Inch. That one was kind of a good one.
Oh yeah.
But that's
but Wild Zero is a crazy zombie film where it was supposed to be the lead character Ace was supposed to date a girl. But the director in it was in a club in the Philippines, and he seen this transsexual in a bar and said, "That is the sexiest woman I ever seen. Let's put her in the movie." And then she said, "I'm transsexual." And he goes, "Okay, we'll just rewrite the role. We're going to have you in the movie because you are the most beautiful woman for the part."
Exactly. And I think, that's brilliant. And again, it's a Japanese zombie flick, and it's very weird. But I love every aspect of it. I hate to say it, there's a lot of homages to it in the Princess of Darkness movie, which is coming. I love the script. I'm constantly revising it. I already have ideas for a sequel. Especially since I was kicking around watching Alien Resurrection the other night, and they had that whole line, "What'd you do the last time this happened?" "I died." And I've been thinking about how I want to end the Princess of Darkness movie and how I'd want to do the sequel and just have a line that's similar. "Oh, we understand you've been through this type of thing before. How'd you handle it?" And "I don't know. I heard I died," and just kind of walk off. I think that would be kind of humorous. "I don't know. I heard I died, but okay." But I just think it'd be kind of fun to do.
Maybe an ending like Escape from L.A.
Oh yeah, with the whole Hershey.
Where basically he just shut with the whole thing. He's like, he shuts down the whole world.
Yeah, I love it, but that's something for later on because this first one is kind of a weird mutant twisted romp that deals with a killer energy drink, and all I gotta say is there's a killer tit monster in it, and I think it's gonna be badass because I've never seen a killer tit monster outside of Japanese animation. And I've got a friend who's well endowed, and she's like, "I so want that role," and I'm like, "Honey, I think I wrote it for you."
But yeah, most of the 60s, Christine Jorgensen's exploitation was a big thing. They even did a mainstream movie with, I forget, one of the Redgrave sisters played her.
Oh, wow. I'm trying to think of that one. What was the one with, what was her name? And she can play some really ugly people, but she's a very beautiful woman. She played a trans man, that gets killed and raped by people that she thought were her friends.
Oh, Boys Don't Cry.
Yes, what's her name?
Hillary Swank.
Yes, yes. Ever since I saw her in that boxer movie.
Speaking of Hugh Hefner.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Speaking of Hugh Hefner dying, I can remember reading that story about Tina Brandon in there and just...
Oh, yeah? You just kind of cut out there. You still with me?
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, I just said just damn. Those guys were that afraid of her, and one guy was that pissed of her stealing her woman.
Yeah. And it's just, as terrible as it sounds, granted off topic, but my favorite Playboy was, what's her name from Overboard? The movie
Goldie Hawn.
Yes, I love that issue. That's like my favorite all-time issue of Playboy. Because she was an exquisite woman. I'm not going to lie. I'm pansexual. Boys, girls, who cares? You know, my weekend at Comic-Con, that was a weird weekend. Not often I leave with a woman in a miniskirt. You know, and I'm wearing the miniskirt, not her. Yeah, it doesn't always work out that way.
Well, that's one thing I miss about the old school cons is that once you were in there, as they say, what happens at the con stays at the con. So people are very, very, very experimental.
Well, it was funny because, like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Hagerstown area, Hagerstown, Maryland, but they have this club there. And granted, I remember it back in the day when it was called Barracudas, which was like a surfer bar, but then they changed it to like this country western bar. I don't know how you remodel a place and turn it into a country western bar, but then it became Cancun Cantina. And they had the con, which was kind of like in the event center. It was back behind it. And as a result, we kind of had like free run of the entire place. You could get into the Cancun Cantina for free. You could get, 20% off at Barefoot Bernie's. You had super cheap hotel rooms. I was like, wow, I'm taking advantage of this. I've got a friend who wants me to help out with their booth. Well, I can advertise the podcast and all the work that I do for basically the LGBTQIA community. I'm like, I'm all about that. They even want me to go next year in the spring to help them out. I'm like, groovy. What was funny is the person I was working for, who does like graphic artwork and things of that nature, is a furry. And he showed up with a bunch of his fur friends, and it was weird. It was like I was the trans ambassador to the furry community. It was great. It was like, I don't understand your ways and your culture, but I'd like to learn them. They're like, we're the same way. And I'm like, awesome. Bridging the gap, so to speak. But when you roll up into a country bar with a bunch of cosplayers and on top of that furs, and the bartenders are just like, wow, is that your posse? I'm like, hell yeah, they got my back. Them are my dogs, literally. But it was a wild night. Granted, there's still some repercussions from it, because never can just have fun without repercussions. That's what that whole joke about, hey, that's my jacket now, was all about, because somebody decided to become a total cunt afterwards. But yeah, it's such is life. What can I say? But anyways, off topic, since we were talking about misrepresentation in the transgender community, which seems to be a big trend, I'm hoping someday it's going to be like blackface was, ages and ages and ages ago. Kind of like why, for example, we'll never see a decent DVD quality version of, Song of the South. I'm hoping that someday certain movies kind of get that effect. I just hope they don't backlog it, because there are some good movies. Don't get me wrong. I love Dress to Kill, hence the title of this podcast. One of my favorite movies, because despite the fact that, yes, the killer is trans, and granted, yes, there's a twist ending, and I'm not going to ruin it. Granted, yes, it's a movie. It's almost, 30, 40 years old now? But I don't want to ruin the twist.
Yeah.
However, it's definitely worth a watch, especially if you like the guy who played Alfred in the new Batman movies. What was his name again? I'm trying to think of it. British guy.
Michael Caine.
Yes, if you love Michael Caine, he's in it. Much younger. A great film, worth checking out. You even got the kid from Christine in it, the guy who played Arnie.
Yeah.
what is his name? He's a director now too.
Oh, Keith Gordon.
Yes, Keith Gordon. He's in that as well. I mean, it's a great film. And now, of course, I feel was it De Palma that did that one? I want to say
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a great film from a great director.
And it's one of those. Yeah. And it changes up the whole movie about every 20 minutes or so in the movie, and that's another reason I like about it, because it's really schizophrenic.
Right, but there are to some degree where they talk about the transgender community to a degree, and they don't talk about it in a negative connotation. I mean, it's handled in a very polite kind of way. I don't mean that negatively. I mean, it's handled rather well. It's handled in a way that you wouldn't expect it to be handled. So it's different and it's unique, and I like it.
I would sum it up with Michael Caine's one line. The cop comes and asks me, said, "What would you do if you had a transsexual patient come to you?" Tell him he's normal.
Exactly. And I mean, I love the movie for what it is. I mean, it's a great film. Granted, more people remember things like, for example, Silence of the Lambs. I like the movie. I like the book, but again, you're dealing with a psycho killer. And it all stems back to Ed Gein. It's like, I wish I had a time machine so I could go bitch slap the hell out of Ed Gein. Thanks for fucking up my community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
a more sympathetic character, and they really dig in deep about how he had tried at least 5 times to get the conversion surgery, and they always turned him down.
Right, but as you'll notice with most mainstream viewers, you're not going to get that. You got to really pay attention to the context of it and everything else. Now, there was a movie about...
That's why I hated the movie.
I'm sorry?
That's why I hated the movie, because I missed all of that context that was in the book that they just peeled down to nothing.
Right. And to me, it's just like... It's very agitating with other representation that's out there. I mean, even Leatherface, to some degree, kind of dips into the whole Ed Gein mythos, especially with that terrible, but well-cast Texas Chainsaw movie. You know the one I'm talking about, with Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, Returns.
Yes. It kind of dips into the whole Leatherface being potentially transsexual or transgender. And I was like, whoa, this is new. I'm not used to this, them going into that with this particular character. I was actually kind of shocked and surprised.
Well, actually, there's a deleted scene from the original, and if you look at the last dinner part of the film, it shows them transforming from the male mask into a female mask face. And it has lipstick and eyeshadow. It was supposed to be between her knocking out Grandpa, her feeding Grandpa and getting knocked out, then her being at the dinner table.
Oh, and for those of you watching on Twitch, if you're not watching on Twitch, you'll see that Poison's on here. Because I've actually got like a very long play of course, Final Fight, which is another transgender character, which was something that Capcom did in, of course, when they came out with Final Fight. I want to say, what was that, late 80s, mid 80s, something like that?
89, 90, when Double Dragon was all the rage.
Yes. But anyways, Poison was identified, even in the Japanese manual, as, for a video game, for people who love arcade games and things of that nature, as a new half, which is basically somebody who is transgender. And of course the American censors ate it up because they're like, yeah, we don't want them beating up women, but transgender people are cool to beat up. And I'm like, fucking really? But that's how they got their start. That's how Poison basically has that mythos behind her now, where people constantly question her sexuality. But if you go back to the original Japanese arcade game, she's transgender, and it's like, I love it. That is great. And I don't know how many cons I've been to that deal with video games, or even in general, basically where somebody's dressed up as Poison. And I always think it's hilarious because 9 times out of 10 it's a cisgender woman, and it's like, you know, you're dressed as a transgender person, right? You are aware of this, okay?
Well, if you get to see the Japanese arcade version of Final Fight, there's a certain animation they took out for the U.S. version. When Poison gets knocked back, her skirt flies up in the air, and you can get a good look at her package in her underwear.
Yep, exactly. Exactly, and that's why, if you notice in future releases, she just had on short shorts.
Yeah.
But that brings me to another topic regarding video games and the transgender community, Birdo. And it's something that Nintendo is constantly backpedaled on. But Birdo is a transgender character. In fact, if you go and look at the Super Mario Bros. 2, granted manual, they kind of mislabeled one enemy as Birdo and another as, you know, something else. But if you look at the reference for Birdo, the egg-spitting character, they say this is a person who identifies as a woman, even though that they're male. And I'm like, wow, I was kind of progressive with Nintendo. And then later on, they had a relationship with Yoshi, and it's like, wow, that's extremely progressive.
Yeah, and later on they had Yoshi as a non-sexual, a pansexual, because both sexes can lay eggs.
Now, I'm pansexual. I haven't been able to do that yet, thank God. But
yeah, Birdo was always hilarious because you would, in the early versions of the Mario 2, it had Birdo as transsexual. And then you would have in the later games, oh, Birdo's just a confused female.
yeah, it's just one of those weird things, such as life. You know, and you just got to deal with it. Much like I'm dealing with trolls right now, and I'm like, I'm sorry you don't believe in this, but you know what? You can either click away or, you know, fuck off. One of the two. Otherwise, you get blocked and reported on PlayStation and, of course, everywhere else. So, such is life, because that's the kind of bitch I am. But, anyways, yeah, it does touch on video game. I want to say one of the fantasy games got into it. I don't know if it was Secret of Mana or Final Fantasy. One of them had a character, I want to say it was, granted, named Flea in the American version one, and they said that she was female. But if you look at the Japanese translation, they're actually transgender. Also in the recent Pokemon games, you know, they actually had a trainer that was transgender.
Well, don't forget Kefka from Final Fantasy 3.
Oh, yeah? I really didn't touch on the Final Fantasy 3.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But yeah, the Kefka, in the way he dresses up like a Japanese female, but he's supposedly a male. And some guy calls him a bad word for a male, and he says, male, female? Who cares about labels like that?
Exactly. Stacy Wilson trying to add me on Facebook. What the hell is that about? Who are you and who are our mutual friends? Don't mind me, I go off on tangents. And of course, I'm drinking cold cock, so that kind of helps. Yeah, I don't know you. I'm deleting the request. No, sorry. Your husband looks like the type of person I have conflict with frequently at work, so I'm good. Such is life. But,
and the two worst that I've seen when it comes to transgender, Sasha, is definitely going to have to be, number one, Never Too Young to Die, with Gene Simmons as a transsexual.
That's...
leading around Robert Englund, a dog collar.
That's wild. Well, you want to hear something really...
Yeah, and John Stamos plays a super spy trying to stop him.
You want to hear something really, really weird, and it just makes me shake my head? You've seen the movie MILF vs. Zombies, right?
Yeah.
I was actually supposed to be in that, but then I ran into health issues and some transportation issues, so it didn't pan out. They took my role and made it into two different characters. And granted, I get along okay with Brad and them. They're cool people. So don't get me wrong. If you see MILFs versus Zombies out of there, watch it. But yeah, there's two roles that were supposed to be me all merged into one. And you can imagine which two. You've seen MILFs versus Zombie?
I think I have. I'm not sure, but doesn't that really show how badass you are?
Well, no.
It takes two people to replace you?
Well, they have one person as, the best way I can put it is a dominatrix type leading around a guy in a dog costume. So that's the one role. And then the second role is a transgender person with a beard running around and constantly escaping the zombies. And I had to look at I'm like, dude, fucking really? Because I had health issues, you wanted to do that? Well, we were kind of hard-pressed, and, I only had the one chick for the one part, and the other guy was the only one that would volunteer to put on a dress. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? I'm like, you could have drove up and got me, dude. You know what I mean? I would have downed some Dayquil, and it came out. I don't care. If I knew that was what you were going to do with the rolls. But yeah, if you watch it again, you'll have to go, I see it.
But the worst one is probably the infamous documentary done by Doris Wishman. Have you heard of Let Me Die a Woman?
No, I have not.
Oh.
That bad?
Imagine a sleazy, smutty, trashy documentary about transsexuals. Oh, it's so sleazy.
Yeah, there's been a lot that I've shied away from because, basically, they just look sleazy. They look like they're terrible. Now, one I really want to talk about, and I've just recently watched it, and I'm glad they dropped the shitty title. I really am glad. But it still pisses me off. The Assignment. It was originally going to be titled Reassignment.
That one was bad.
Yeah, and it just... A lot of people have said to me, but Sasha, it ends on a good. Granted, she accepts the fact that she can't get surgery to become a man again. The chick that she was into still loves her and cares about her. And I'm like, okay, that's still not a good ending. It's freaking terrible. It just made me shake my head. It was as bad as The Skin I Live In and that other one about the doctor who kidnaps the guy who killed his daughter and just turns him into his daughter. I'm like, dude, that's like a body horror to the extreme and asshole to the extreme.
Yeah, there's just no way. They make movies like that, then they're shocked that people get pissed off.
Yeah, and the Assignment was just terrible because, granted, it was a script that was done in the 80s. Maybe it would have been acceptable in the 80s. I don't know, but it's one of those things. But yeah, it's just how it is.
I know.
But it's just one of them things.
That movie.
Let's talk about the Easter egg that James Cameron hid that was only recently discovered.
What's that?
About Lambert. And aliens?
I've heard of it, but yeah.
Yeah, basically.
What about Lambert?
Well, in a scene in Aliens where, that whole scene where she's talking with the company, Sigourney Weaver's character Ripley is sitting there talking with Weyland-Yutani about what happened in Alien. They're flashing screens of the crew of the Nostromo. They bring up Lambert's portfolio shot for just a couple seconds, and they mention that they were part of a gender reassignment surgery and that it was successful and they didn't have any issues. And they were able to readapt back into society. And I'm like, wow, slipping that in there in the 80s. I'm like, way to go.
Yeah, part of that is just a big joke. They had something for every character, but Lambert is the only one that slipped by when they were checking him right before they put him on the green screen that was behind Ripley in that scene.
Yes, exactly. And I just thought that was, like, really cool. I mean, granted, it may have been a big joke to them, but when you sit down and you look at those movies now, it kind of adds a levity to them. Granted, yes, we'll ignore Prometheus and Covenant because they suck, but, you know, outside of that, it is...
But yeah, it is a nice touch, because why wouldn't they be, if they're able to create artificial life, why couldn't they do perfect reassignment surgeries in that century?
Yep, so that's what happened. But yes, any other ones that you can think of off the top of your
It
head?
would explain. Let's see. They're trying to think of the easy ones. Well, there's Homicidal, the one that was a psycho, that Jean Arliss played such a convincing man in it.
That she couldn't get any more work as a female, which is what she is, because she was so perfect in that role as a male.
Right, but that's the thing, you know, and it's those type of representations that is just wrong. I mean, it's hard to find positive ones. And 9 times out of 10, even the ones that are positive, somehow they're cast with a cisgender role. Even the ones that are kind of like a shade of gray, like Dallas Buyers Club, that movie still pisses me off. Because guess who accepted an Oscar with a full fucking beard? And it's like, dude, are you fucking serious? You know?
Yeah. But you're forgetting, that's one of the movies I put on my gay washing list. Because in real life, Matthew McConaughey's character was bisexual.
Yep.
You won't find that fact in the movie. Oh, and don't forget, the thing that should have on their t-shirts was said this year in the new Twin Peaks.
Huh. David Duchovny was trans in the original show, right?
Yeah, he was the head of the FBI and still trans in the new show. And there were some guys making fun of him, and he asked David Lynch's character, how did you deal with it? He said, I took those guys aside and looked at him. He said, learn to change or die.
Yep. That's insane. I mean, that's the way the world is and the world works sometimes. And it's just, you know, my philosophy's always been, I'm not hurting anybody. I'm just being myself and, you know, enjoying life. And, you know, this isn't a joke. This is who I am 24/7. Granted, most days I don't feel like putting on makeup and doing my hair, but what woman does? Most women that you know, you're lucky if you get to see them out of sweatpants with a stitch of makeup on. Because that's real life, you know? It's just harder for me to say, hey, I'm a woman, than it is for somebody who was born that way. I've always been a woman. This is not a joke. This is one of these things that is real and it's valid. There are just days I just don't care. It's like, speaking of the Comic-Con, you know, that Saturday night, went out, I had a great time, was supposed to work Sunday. Getting up at 7 and 8 in the morning was hard as hell. And I just said, screw makeup. And I thought it was funny because, like, 90% of the people who know me, because they're used to this 24/7, it was nice because it was like I was at Comic-Con and nobody knew me. And it was so awesome because then I could hear people actually talking about me without knowing they were talking about me, and I could actually see their real viewpoint. And it was really cool because a lot of it was positive. And it's like, oh wow, I finally found a good group of friends that aren't assholes. So for all y'all who was at Comic-Con, for Retro Pop and Comic-Con in Hagerstown, a little over 3 weeks ago, thank you. You guys are awesome. Love you guys to death. But anyways, that wasn't a little aside, because I keep getting asked.
You know what I always... Okay, sorry.
No, go ahead.
You know what I always loved about the niece and the way David Lynch treated her in Twin Peaks? They never made the fact that she was transgender an issue. They never spent 10 minutes of the show saying it. She just showed up as is.
Yeah, it's just the way it is.
Only thing we got was, oh yeah, she it's just like, oh, she was undercover one time and she found out that she liked it, so she stayed that way.
That's the way life goes sometimes. Oh, but see, this is why I think it's so hilarious to people.
Always annoys me about.
Yeah.
That's one thing that always annoyed me about movies. If you're not heterosexual, or normal, it goes disabled too, they have to spend 5 minutes of the movie explaining what's different about you.
Exactly. It's insane. It's insane. But such is life, you know. And again, I apologize to anybody who's on YouTube or anything of that nature. Robbie, would you love to be a moderator? Save me some time while I'm chatting with, Steve here, because I can definitely make you a moderator where you can boot some of these people. Would you enjoy that? Because, of course, they're all in here. We'll see if Robbie responds. It'll take a second. Oh, I kick them all. Trust me, they're getting kicked on YouTube there, Mr. Zone B. I let them talk, I let them run their mouth, and they get blocked. And bye-bye, Irish lover, or Irish rover. It must be part of the other community we were talking about a little bit ago. Anyways, such is life. And of course, with a name with Irish Rover 69. So yeah, we'll go ahead and make Robbie a moderator. There you are. You're a moderator. Have fun, Robbie. Anyways, some other movies I'd like to touch on that basically kind of touched on the transgender community. There was this one film, and I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it involved a kind of like an Olympic summer school, or a school where people went to go train to be in the Olympics, and it involved a killer that was transgender.
Oh, that one with Sally Keller, not Kellerman. I know what you're talking about. It's basically she changed. She was a man who couldn't get to Olympics, so she changed her sex into a woman, so she wouldn't have to try as hard and get. Sally Kirkland was in it, and she couldn't beat him as a man, so she got a sex change as a woman because she thought it'd be easier to beat the women, but then they found out.
Exactly.
So she became jealous of anyone with talent.
Yeah, I remember that one. I mean, it was a great film. I couldn't think of the name of it, but it's basically the way it is, you know. I mean, I love movies that kind of have like a twist ending, but it just feels so forced. Like that Pretty Little Liars show. I mean, it annoyed me that they just had to make the killer transgender, and I'm like, really? We had to go there yet again with another stereotype? When is this going to stop being such a twist? You know? I even feel like M. Night Shyamalan would be like, this is no longer a twist. This is hackneyed and crap.
Well, let's not forget Sleepaway Camp. You can't forget about that when it comes to horrible portrayals.
Well, here's the thing with Sleepaway Camp. And again, this is one of those, like I said, I love Dressed to Kill. I love, basically, Silence of the Lambs to a lesser degree. However, when it comes to something like Sleepaway Camp, basically Sleepaway Camp is, it was very revolutionary for that horror period. It was one of the more well-remembered horror movies from that time. And it dealt with a trauma, it dealt with a childhood trauma, and it dealt with people, trying to deal with basically, that death. And this is somebody who was transgender, either forced by their aunt or eventually accepted it. But you could tell that Angela, the character in the film, was trying to live life as a female. There were certain people she was attracted to. Grant, yes, she had that creepy 7-mile stare, but it still had certain poignant moments to it. Granted, yes, I know people hate on it, but I like it for what it is.
There's one line in that movie I wish they would have really gone farther with, and that's right when she's making out with that boy at the very end of the film.
Yeah.
Right before she kisses him, he looks at her and says, your cousin told me everything.
Yes, and that's what makes it very poignant. It's a very one of those movies where here's somebody that's ready to accept her for as who she is. And to me, it's just weird.
Yeah, you got a lot of transgender thing in the 80s slasher. It's just them taking the easy way out. It's like a lot of them were ripping off Dress to Kill, let's be honest.
Yes, Dress to Kill was Brian De Palma's, like, I hate to say it, it's like one of his films that's not well recognized. When you talk about Brian De Palma, there's like 20 million other movies that you think of before you come to Dress to Kill. And to me, like, Dress to Kill is like one of the top movies that I love. I love to watch it on repeat. That and The Warriors. I know a lot of people go, well, The Warriors of all movies, as often as they like to drop that F word that you hate so much. I'm like, yeah, I still like The Warriors. I'm sorry. It's just me.
Well, look what happens when they meet up. Well, let's just say the Turnbull ACs, the ones that the Warriors run scared from and never fight. Guess what? They're a gay gang.
Yep. And then you have
and the Lizzies, the gang the Lizzies that nearly take out the Warriors. Lesbians.
Yes, I love that movie because there's little subtle things that people don't initially pick up on, and it's a great film. Somebody here in the comments had mentioned about Phantom of Paradise. I'm still trying to figure out how that works in the transgenderism. Trying to remember.
It doesn't work in transgenderism, but beef is a... Oh, when it comes to Brian De Palma, yeah. Nowadays, that would be his biggest film besides Carrie is Phantom of the Paradise.
Oh, okay, yeah, since we were bringing up Brian De Palma. Yeah, good point. Okay, it took me a second. I'm like, wait, that is Brian De Palma. Crap. Good on you, Robbie. Good on you. I feel lacking at the moment. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. But yes, I mean, you know, when it comes to certain films to me is one of the ones that really focuses on the trans community, and it's really weird. And granted, yes, there's some movies that have video games that's come up recently that involve the trans community. Give me a second here. I'm popping to Twitter, but there was a recent one that my buddy Josh had brought up, Brian Assidius, who I've done collabs with. I'm trying to think of the name of that game. Granted, I'm not as much of a hardcore gamer as most people, unless it's horror or some really good action with like a post-apocalyptic feel to it. I'm usually not, you know, big on it. But Byron Assidius, I know a lot of you guys haven't seen him on like YouTube in a while, but he brought up, let me see what he brought up here. But there was another video game he brought up. But yeah. Dang it, I'm trying to find it now. I am so disappointed, but there was a recent video gaming to accept these things. Granted, a lot of people are still headstrong and still assholes, but, you know, it's that kind of thing. Oh, and you're from Belgium. Well, it's been a while since I've been that way. Yeah, what were you saying?
Yeah. Don't forget, like, the most famous one, it ain't transgender, but it is gay, is the guy from Streets of Rage 3 that they cut out.
Oh, yeah? Who was that?
Yeah, he was a gay... It was a completely gay guy who dressed in fishnet stockings and top hat of the motorcycle, and well, it was basically like Tom of Holland drawing, where the guy's wearing knickers and the Tom of Holland outfit on top.
Oh, okay. Huh.
They cut him completely out of the U.S. version, replaced him with a kangaroo.
Okay. Wow. Are you sure you mean Streets of Rage and not Tekken?
Oh, Streets of Rage, yeah. Streets of Rage 3.
Ice King, just so you know, there is no fix for me. I'm on medication, but I am me, and there is no fixing me. I am perfect the way I am, so either deal with it or fuck off. That's your only warning.
Well, wouldn't a fix for you be a good pizza, a bottle of whiskey, and someone that actually cares about you as is?
I got me, and I got the whiskey. Pizza I can get from work at 50% off, so hey, I'm not worried about it. Hey, I got me, and that's all that matters.
But, yeah. It's just like me as being disabled. Usually the first thing that people say to me afterwards is, I'm sorry.
For what? You know, and that's exactly the same thing. I'm like, did you make me this way? You know, so what are you apologizing for? You know? I'm like, I kind of like it this way. You know, I feel like the powers that be, you know, one of the other powers that be asked the one that was creating me, was like, hey, are you sure you should put this chick in a guy's body? And they're like, this bitch can handle it. This is her lot in life. She can deal with this. She's a badass.
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at it. You know, I was given what I was supposed to. Because a lot of people feel they were born in the wrong body. Fuck no. I was born in this body to give me challenges, and I'm still here. You know, I've survived cancer. I've been stabbed. I've been shot. I've been ran over. I drowned. And I'm still here. Resilience a word.
They want to try to pick a fight with you. And they want to pick a fight with you. Just...
Well, as I always joke with everybody, I'm like, you know, many people have challenged me. Few have succeeded. And fewer still brag about the conquest. But anyways, yeah, that kind of deals with, like, movies and video games and a little bit of basically television. But one thing we haven't touched on is music. And granted, I know that's probably more of some of your other friends' like caliber, but we can kind of dip into it a little bit. So, first two things that kind of dip into the transgender community that I can think of is Prince and Bowie.
For me, it's always Bowie. Mid-70s Bowie, mid-70s Bowie. Definitely 70s Bowie.
I'm cutting in and out there, bud.
His girls are all swing, but all swinging era. The stage in Berlin era.
Yes.
And definitely Prince.
Yes, because Prince was the one who said, I'm not a boy, I'm not a girl. And I'm like, I love that.
Yeah, I love that. Some people might...
Kind of cutting out there.
And they bought him his first two albums. I said, listen to this.
Yep.
Well, it's like they're all saying, oh, Prince is gay, Prince is gay. I'm like, oh, really? Then I brought his like first two albums, said, listen to this. And it was just like, damn.
Yep. Prince knew what he was talking about. So did Bowie. I mean, they were both great artists. Let's talk about the Kinks. You know what song I'm talking about when I bring up the Kinks.
Yeah, Lola.
That's about a trans woman. And it's not disrespectful at all. She looks like a woman.
Girls will be boys and boys will be men.
Yep. She looks like a woman, but she sounds like a man. And I'm like, I love it.
And of course, what is it? I love myself, and so does Lola.
Yes. You know, and that
and
was...
don't forget the song that got called out for being... Okay.
Yep, you're cutting out.
Right.
Go ahead.
And don't forget the song that got called out for being anti-trans on a college radio station. Lou Reed's Take a Walk on the Wild Side.
Yes, that was a good one. I mean, granted, yes, a lot of people hated it, but it is what it is. Well, it's not really anti-trans. I mean, I like the song for what it is. Again, it dips into my whole thing where I like certain movies that misrepresent my community. I like that song for what it is.
Most people forget, and Carl told me this, that during the time when Lou Reed told this song, one of the girls he sings about in the song he was actually dating, and that was her story that she told him.
What song was that?
Walk on the Wild Side. Candy Darling.
I love it. See, and that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people forget that, especially in the entertainment community, you know, there's a lot of us. I hate to say it, yes, a lot of us get mislabeled as people that do porn and are in the adult film industry. I have friends and loved ones that are in the adult film industry. Like, one of my best friends, I love her to death, known as Nadia White or Heather Cahill. She comes around and hangs out on occasion when she's not hanging out with Sergeant Kabuki Man, which I think is hilarious that those two are dating. I think that's just awesome, and they have their own podcast, not to plug anything. But she's like the coolest person that I've ever met. I love my favorite band, Pain. She was originally dating one of their guitarists before he left the band. And we met just in one of those odd circumstances where you just kind of are in the room with two people that kind of like know each other but have never met before, where you just stare at somebody and they stare right back. And it was like catching up with an old friend that I never met before. And I love her to death. She's a sister from another mister. So if she's listening, love you, Heather. You're my best bud. But I don't know if you're familiar with her or not, but I love her. Love her to death. And a lot of people's like, oh, she's an adult film star. I'm like, yeah, she's still a human being. You know, she's got friends and family and people who love her. Fuck you. It's a job. I work a shitty job too, you know? Such is life. Oh, you're kind of cutting out there, Steven. I know HughesNet is fucking with you
Gene
bad.
Silver, who's one of the sweetest people.
I'm sorry?
Yeah. Or Gene Silver. Gene Silver, I know, worked in the adult industry. She's like one of the sweetest people you ever meet.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Annette Hines.
She's sweet, a sweetheart. And Carter Stevens, I mean, yeah. I'm sorry, but adult film stars are not adult film stars 24 hours a day. Just like someone that works at Walmart doesn't work at Walmart 24 hours a day. As soon as they clock out, they're...
Yeah, they're just like you and me, you know? Such is life, you know? And they always get such a bad rap, and it just pisses me off, you know? It's like, these are people that I love and care about. I'm not of that industry, but, you know, they provide a job, and they provide entertainment to people. Not my cup of tea, even though I've laughed at some porno spoofs, I won't lie. Some porno spoofs are downright hilarious. But, you know, just because people like me are in said industry doesn't mean all of us are. You know, just because I'm in Wonderland doesn't necessarily...
Well, I've joked with Annette Hines. It seems like the old stars who disappeared, every one of them you always hear, oh, they work at a brothel in Las Vegas once a year.
Yeah. I mean, hell, there's been times when I've looked at my transition and I'm like, you know what, that would pay the bills. Granted, I can't do it because of my own set of morals, even though I have flexible morals. But still, kudos to the people who can. You know? That's on them, and I've got total respect for them. Love them to death. But kind of an aside, but it brings me up to, what's her name? Bailey, from my community. Gorgeous, gorgeous woman. Something Bailey. I know one of these people are going to pop up and say her name, and I'm going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's who it is. Something Bailey, but she's a part of the trans community and part of the adult film industry. And, I mean, she's gorgeous. You know, she's everything someone like me aspires to be, even though it's impossible. But, yeah, I mean, she's a nice person in real life, too. I mean, I'm surprised by some of the people I've met in real life. It just blows my mind sometimes. I'm like, hey, I know you. I don't know if I should be admitting that in public. Kind of like the time I met Chris Pine. That was hilarious. Did I ever tell you about that?
No.
So, every year, the Maryland, Hagerstown, Maryland, the Maryland Theater has basically what's known as Maryland Film Festival. They had the director, Callahan, whatever his name is, Carahan. He recently did, what was it called, 13 Hours, about that group of military specialists that kind of get killed while protecting an embassy in Iraq.
Yeah.
Well, he did that, but prior to that,
One I can think of. Okay.
he did a movie called Stretch, which involved this Stretch limo driver, and Chris Pine was a character in it. It's just one of those things. But it was funny because, like, nobody knew Chris Pine was there. I'm at the bar, and he's, like, all shaded up and got, like, kind of like a hood up over his head because it's, like, fall. And he's just trying to be incognito. And I'm there because at the time I was helping Creepy Crawl advertise their latest movie. And I'm there, you know, helping out Creepy Crawl, helping out my web show, helping out my badass friend Matthew Pillisher with his independent movie, kind of get those advertised. So I got a free ride into the Maryland Film Festival. I noticed this guy kind of done up like the Unabomber, which I thought was hilarious, trying to be incognito and looking everything but. I hand him a flyer just to get a good look. And me, I come back around, I'm like, hey, I know you. He's like, crap. He's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I saw you from the movie Carriers. And it's so funny because at that point he takes his glasses off, pulls his hood down. He's like, out of all my fucking movies, you would choose that one? I'm like, I'm sorry, but I don't want to be obvious, Captain. And he just cracks up laughing at that. And it was so hilarious at the time that, like, he literally bought me whiskey all night long. I kind of pissed off my date that night, but it was so worth it. Because he literally signed one of my brawls, and it was just fucking awesome. Not too often you get to drink whiskey with the new Captain Kirk. You still with us? Kind of lost you there, bud.
One of my... Okay, go ahead, sir. Just go ahead.
No, I lost you. I don't know what you were commenting on. It was great. What was your response to that?
I was going to say it's the best time I ever had. I'm laughing.
Oh, okay.
But the best time I ever had was a con is Brian O'Halloran from Clerks.
Yes.
He was just sitting in the lobby, and this girl was dancing with this dummy. And we started talking to him because we were trying to, wait, is that a real kid? I was like, it had to be a dummy, man. He said, God, I hope so, because she was making out with it on the dance floor.
Great.
And then we just started talking for an hour or two.
Well, I met, what was his name, a couple years ago at one of the other Comic-Cons. He was in Road Warrior. Vernon Wells. And
Vernon Wells.
I met him.
Poor guy.
And, like the first thing I said to him, like, dude, you need to wear chaps more often. You've got a great ass. And he could not stop laughing. He's like, out of that whole movie, that's the one thing you remember. I'm like, yeah. And I just thought it was hilarious because he's like, you don't remember me fighting Matrix? I'm like, I remember you fighting Matrix, but you and assless chaps is the best of all.
I've always thought it funny that the one movie where he wasn't playing gay, Commando, he was accused of being gay.
Yeah.
And the one movie where he was playing a gay character, The Road Warrior, no one even mentions that his character is gay.
Exactly. I mean, he gets extremely upset when his partner gets killed. It's kind of like, duh. You know? But, you know, that's a whole other topic about gay representation in movies. Okay, let me bring up one that kind of touches on the transgender topic, but not really. And it's kind of a really fucked up movie, and it's a comedy. White Chicks.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah, there's not enough whiskey here for that one. But yeah, it's... Yeah. I gotta wonder, though, about that one gentleman that's in the movie, the bald-headed guy. He was in a lot of deodorant commercials there.
Terry Crews?
Yes. Is he gay? Because I'm
Yes,
just curious.
Terry Crews.
Is he gay, like, for real?
I don't know, but I don't know, but he is really good with comedy. Better than anybody else in White Chicks.
Yeah, but White
Give me
Chicks...
the other pro football who can pull off a commercial where he's riding a unicorn.
Okay, and let's talk about another weird one that doesn't really deal with the transgender community, but it's one of the most popular ones. And granted, when I first started coming out, was one I got referenced with often. Tootsie.
I don't know, that one dances the issue because he never has to play the woman. Whenever a situation comes up where he has to play the woman.
Right. No, it's true. I'm just saying, like, you know, given, like, some of the roles and the guys hitting on him when he's dressed up, you know, it's definitely interesting. Now, you had said one of your friends is into anime. Anime has a huge, like, transgender subsection. It gets into the whole trap territory to some degree, and I hate that phrase because, granted, someone like me, I don't even try to be a trap. I'm honest with who I am. Like, I'll go up to the bar, and the first thing I'll say, really loud so everybody can hear, who do I gotta fuck to get a drink around here? You know, because that's just me. Because I have fun with who I am. I don't care about it. You know what I mean? It's like, here I am, little short miniskirt tight butt, who I gotta fuck to get a drink around here? You know? Just for amusement. Because, hey, at least I have fun with it. But, you know, like, when it comes to anime, you had I, My, Me, Strawberry Eggs. I still don't understand what that title's about. But it's about this teacher who gets fired from his job, and he's trying to find a new line of work, and the only thing he can find is, like, the local women's school. So he's got to dress up and appear female, and all his life trying to deal with all of that. And there's this whole big deal with him being really into shopping for lingerie, and he doesn't understand why, and he's just questioning it the whole time. And, you know, it finally gets explained to, like, the old woman that he's living with is like, there's nothing wrong with it. You're living as a woman. We like to shop for underwear. What's the fucking problem? And I'm like, I love this movie. You know what I mean? This TV show. It was really good.
Yeah.
And then you had...
most of the ones you're talking about are called Fundare, where the girl has both equipment and they work.
Yeah, well, this, like, I, My, Me, Strawberry Eggs didn't even get into that territory. It's very, very different. Same way with Princess. I don't know if you've seen that one or not. It's fairly recent. Early 2000, deals with this all-boys school. And the kicker of it is with this all-boys school, because they don't have many girls come in there, they have a group of guys that they choose to be princesses to get all glammed up and look pretty. So the boys have some sort of distraction so they don't get into trouble. And I'm like, that's kind of fucked up, but okay.
They have millions of games and anime about that. It's called Boy Love.
Yep. Yeah, and it is.
Yeah, that's a very popular genre over there.
Oh yeah. But that's
except when it's translated over here, they instead of going full gay, they say, "Oh, I'm your big brother. We get as close as we want to, but we're just brothers, so it's okay."
What was I want to say somebody from Sailor Moon was supposedly transgender, and they got changed over here.
Yeah, it was a male-looking one. It got changed. It was when the females. I think it's either female or a man changed into a female, but the woman he's with, they continued their relationship. But they changed it into a man. So it's easy to tell. It's the one that has the feminine face and body, but dresses in the white suit and the tie.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. But yeah, I mean, you know, that was something that was brought up even in that show, and a lot of people forget about that.
They like to dance over here a lot, as I call it.
Yep. And let's not forget, you get going back into Pokemon, good old James from Team Rocket. I mean, that dude could cross-dress.
He had boobs in one.
Yeah,
He had boobs in one episode that was never brought out over here.
it was banned. It was up there with one of the banned episodes, like Porygon. But yeah, it's just one of those things, and a lot of people forget that it even came up in that show. But yeah, if you get into anime, there's a lot of it. But again, it's because it's coming from another country that have a little bit more tolerance for people of my community, which I think is kind of cool. But again, we've always joked, even me growing up, that like Japan was always 30 years ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Well, you've seen Little Big Man, haven't you? The movie?
Yes.
The one with Dustin Hoffman? Yeah.
Oh no, I thought you meant.
Remember how they explained that one guy? But
I thought you
it
meant.
is in the 70s, and there's this scene
Yeah.
where they're talking about this one male Indian who stays back with the squaws. And they say, why isn't he coming with us? Oh, he thinks he's a girl, so we let him stay back on the squaws. It's kind of weird, but it's good on a nice cold night.
Yep. And what was it? Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah.
That has a big scene involving somebody who's transgender, and then it just becomes a running gag where you got good old Mick checking everybody out just to make sure. And that one older chick's like, wow, I don't know where he's from, but I like how they say hello.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, yes, it was in jest. And
And I love the fact that he doesn't care. It's like, she's like, aren't you free for that? No. Every Saturday night when there's no girls around, we usually see who gets drunkest and we put the dress on them, and, well, you know how it is.
Exactly. I mean, like, movies is rife with it. I wish I could get some more with, like, video games, because I know a lot of you guys are into video games. And, granted, I think Poison has kind of, like, fed into, like, Street Fighter now, hasn't she?
Yeah, she's in the new Street Fighter versus Marvel game, Capcom versus Marvel game.
Okay. See, I couldn't get into that because with the whole rules with Disney now, like anything that's X-Men is not part of that series anymore. I don't know if anybody's noticed that, but if it's X-Men or Fantastic Four, Disney's like, no, it can't be in the game. No, not until Fox and them cough up the rights. And to me, it's like, Fox, just do the deal that they did with Sony. Let you guys have a little bit of transference of characters. You all work out like winners. But I get where Fox...
Well, actually, why should I give up... yeah.
I get where Fox is coming from, because it's
Why
moneymaker.
should Fox... Coming from, yeah. Why should Fox give up the rights when they just made a $100 million movie off of Logan this year?
Yeah, but they fucked that story up so much. You gotta admit, that would have been so much better, him fighting inbred Hulks, like the original comic book, than what we got.
He owns Hulk. That's why Hulk's never had his own movie yet.
Yeah, I know, but still, you get what I'm saying. It's just, it's just aggravating. It's like, Disney, just get those properties back and have a good time, and in fact, you know, honestly, get, you know, hell, I would love to see, as terrible as it makes me sound, I'd love to see Disney buy Aliens somehow and like fucking fix that franchise because it needs it. It's like Ridley Scott, stop making money. People, stop buying tickets to Covenant and Prometheus. I don't want to see the third sequel. I've already had to watch, I kid you not, I've watched Covenant this past week while I'm working on the new episode of The Princess of Darkness. I've watched Covenant 20 times, and all the continuity errors, I'm glad I wear wigs, because I would be fucking bald.
Yeah, and it has basically the exact same ending as Prometheus.
Yeah, and to me it's like, let's be honest, last movie, Covenant. Covenant shows that David somehow created the Xenomorphs, but he has not created a queen yet. Covenant is set 30 years before Alien. How the hell do you get a fossilized engineer, whom apparently David killed all of that species, fossilized to his chair in a ship full of xenomorph eggs, that has a queen, if David created them? It's impossible. Number 2, Fox just recently said that Predator 2 is canon. What is in Predator 2?
The Predators versus the alien, with alien skull in the ship, yeah.
Yeah, so granted, yes, they hate AVP. You can skip all over that continuity. But Predator 2 is set in 1997. Hundreds of years before David would have even thought about the xenomorph. So to me, it's like, y'all are not paying attention.
Yeah.
Get your continuities right. If Predator 2 is canon with the new Predator movie, ergo it falls in the line with, you know, Alien being canon with Predator. Yes, AVP sucked. We admit it. They needed to make the actual comic book into a movie. I mean, hell, that was pretty much delivered to them on a tray by Dark Horse, and all we got out of it that was decent was the Predator skull and Predator 2, because the comic AVP predates Predator 2. And to me, it's like, why didn't you make this movie? It was brilliant. Why? You know?
I would have loved to see Neil Blomkamp's version get made. I'm sorry, but if I had my choice of getting Ripley back or Hicks and Newt back,
I mean, Hicks and Newt.
Right, but here's the kicker with that. Do you know what Ridley Scott used as an excuse? Do you know what his excuse was?
What?
I hate retconning.
What?
He literally said, I hate retconning. What the hell is he doing now? He's retconning.
What is it?
Yeah, AVP, him annihilating AVP is retconning. But yet, it's not cool if somebody skips over Resurrection and skips over, you know, Alien 3. But he can completely forget that AVP and AVP2 happened. And it's like, dude, really? That's retconning. If you hate retconning, don't retcon yourself.
Do you remember what Ridley Scott was known to say when asked about that?
What's that? No.
Fuck Aliens, fuck Alien 3, fuck Alien Resurrection, and fuck Alien vs. Predator. These two are the films that count.
It's ridiculous. And I hate to say it.
And
Like,
I'm exact quoting here.
yeah, but most of the movies, most of the ideas he got from Prometheus, as well as for Covenant, came from Dark Horse and rejected scripts for Alien 3 and Alien 4. And a lot of people forget that.
It's a bunch of crap. I like Aliens, and I'm one of the ones who did like Alien 3, but I would love to... But I love the Dark Horse comics more because they focus more on the colonial Marines who need their own movie before we get another damned Alien movie.
Oh my god, yes. Hell yes. And let's not even get started on Alien Colonial Marines, the video game. I had fun with it, don't get me wrong. I had fun with that game, but just because they did not know how to program AI. I literally, in that game, was standing behind several xenomorphs that just kept walking into walls. And I'm like, man, the programming here is brilliant. I would just have tons of... Have you watched any of the gameplay of, what was it called? Alien Isolation? Have you seen that?
No, I want to get that one badly. It's good.
Yeah, Steve, like, seriously, go and buy it as soon as you can. It's dirt cheap. And that way it'll prompt Sega to make another one. Because right now, the reason why it didn't do so well is because everybody had, like, such a bad taste from Colonial Marines that they didn't even bother with Isolation. They're like, man, this is gonna suck. And, like, dude, for real, this is the definitive Alien game that we needed. This is a sequel to Alien that you never thought you wanted. And the worst part of it is it ends in a cliffhanger because you know what happens to Amanda in Aliens. She dies when at a ripe old age because of some weird earthquake.
Yeah.
Well, you're playing as Amanda Ripley in the game, and at the end of Alien Isolation, she's kind of lost in space. And you're kind of like, okay, well, how do we get from here to there? You know what I mean? It's like, there's definitely a chunk of story we're missing, and I would love to see it. because it was brilliantly done.
And don't forget this. Now, this month at GameStop, all their used games are buy two, get one free.
Yep. And speaking of GameStop, look what Mama got recently. I'm so happy. You see that, right?
No. What is it?
I have got a Metroid hatchling.
Oh, nice.
You see it now?
I'm thinking of picking up a 3DS again just for that game.
Let me see if I can see.
I'm thinking of picking up a 3DS again just to get that game. I want that game.
Oh, but I love it. Look, it is so squishy. It's like actually squishy. It's just nice. I just had to get this. I was so happy about it. Like, literally, I went to every Walmart and I went to every Target in my area to try to find one. And it just got to the point where I was like, fuck it, I'm just ordering it from GameStop. Okay, I don't have a 3DS. I don't have a Wii U. I don't have a Switch. Though I still think it's funny that all these kids now are asking for a Switch for Christmas. Like, when we were kids, we would never ask for a Switch for Christmas. But, you know, it's just one of those things where I'm like, I just had to have the statues. I mean, I've got Samus. I've got Zero Suit Samus. I've got, granted, yes, not an amiibo, but I got Boba Fett from Disney Infinity. And then I've got Mega Man and I've got a Rob. And I'm like, I love it. All I'm missing is a Shovel Knight. Now, that's a game you need to play.
Oh, I got Shovel Knight.
Oh, you got Shovel Knight? Okay. I was curious, because I love Shovel Knight.
And that's a... Oh, yeah. And people, if you're looking for a game that gives you bang for your buck, get Shovel Knight. You get 3 games with that.
Yeah, especially now. I mean, I was an early adopter.
What's the last...
I was an early adopter, so I didn't have all that DLC. But we got excited the other weekend because my son was over, and they had just released co-op on the PS4. Because before, you couldn't have co-op unless you were playing on the Switch or, what was it, the Switch or the Wii U. But now you can get co-op. Or you can play with somebody else.
Oh, yeah. But yeah. And they have 2 expansion packs. I think with 1 more coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Or 2. I know. They're free.
Yeah, I like it.
What other company do you know that would give you a whole game that they could charge $15 and be no complaints for free?
Only in America, baby. Only in America. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to gaming, I mean, I just hope that at some point there's more trans icons. I mean, I think it's cool that a lot of games are now letting you be able to have your avatar be trans, but, you know, there needs to be more with, like, you know, options where your character is trans. When that happens, I will be a very happy camper.
Yeah, every game needs to be like Mass Effect when it comes to being able to customize your own character.
Well, see, the latest Mass Effect sucked. I mean, a lot of people have said that. I'm confirming it.
Yeah, I heard.
And even the third Mass Effect, when it came out, was wretched. It was horrible. It's nice to see options in, like, Skyrim. It's nice to see options in other games where you can be a transgender character. Bethesda, please, next Fallout game, let me have a transgender character. That would be beyond awesome. I don't know how that would work in the time period and the time frame that it's set up, but Fallout, I would love to see that.
Yeah, I mean, if you got let it be a blank slate.
Yeah, let me pick who I want to be. You know, if I can be, what's his name from Dead Rising, and, you know, go and put on a dress and go kill people in a dress all day long. My son and I have so much fun with the remastered versions of those games, Dead Rising and Dead Rising 2. Those are great, where you, like, are in the mall and then the casino in the second one. I love it to death. You know the games I'm talking about, right? Frank West?
I tried the Wii U. Yeah, I tried the Wii U version without the time limit, and for some reason, it doesn't work without the time limit.
Yeah. Nintendo always pussyfooted on things, though. You gotta remember, they had that game where you actually played as, like, a Bible-thumping dinosaur fighting the devil with Bibles, and they banned it in the U.S. It was like a Pac-Man clone, but, like, very weird.
Or a Monster Party.
Oh, have you played the unaltered ROM for that?
Yeah. God, that is very, 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 very bizarre game.
Yeah, but the unaltered ROM where you actually have a gremlin in it, and then you have, like, the actual plant from Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah.
Little Shop of Horrors.
I love it. I love it to death.
Yeah, I know. Some people look down emulation, but me, I say, games that I can't get out in the United States, okay, I'll buy it. I'll use it.
Yeah, I'm all about it. So, it is what it is. And people who's now just joining the chat on YouTube or PSN, if you haven't figured out, if you say a slur, I'm reporting your ass and I'm blocking you. Granted, I'll give you 3 opportunities, but the more slurs you say, the more reports you have against you on YouTube, and the more you're going to be blocked from YouTube. So I hope you like creating other accounts. Because trust me, I can do this all day, just like fucking Captain America, alright? Anyways, that was an aside, because asshole people, but I'm having fun with it. Just be glad you can't see it, Steve, because I know you'd be pissed by now. Oh, you're still really light, hun. You're coming in. Granted, yes, Steve's working with HughesNet, and HughesNet sucks. HughesNet, if you're watching, please improve your internet. It sucks. It sucks donkey dick. Yeah, you're really faint, hun. Let me try to amp your volume.
Okay. Yeah, it's they say emulation is bad, but let's go pay $40 for NES and SNES with just about 80 games total if you count both of them together.
Right on, you know, and that just kind of sucks. I mean, I want to get a NES Classic Edition. I'm glad that Nintendo's reissuing those. A lot of people were shocked and surprised that they're doing it, but hey, it's Nintendo. They realize there's money to be had. Everybody's shocked that they're going to reissue the SNES and like have larger quantities of that. I'm like, yes, they realize they can make money on this. They used limited supply to hype the name and get the brand out there, and now everybody wants it. It's just good business sense on their part. I applaud them for being assholes.
Yeah. You know one of the best parts about the NES and the SNES is? Both of the controllers are Bluetooth controllers. That way, if you want to emulate NES, you can play NES games with that's not on the NES one with on your computer.
Honey, Raspberry Pi.
Same with the Super NES.
Raspberry Pi all day. You can just build your own and call it a day.
Or you can just spend $30 and get a Xbox, the new Xbox controller that's wired. Hook it up to your computer, and that's what I did. In 30 seconds, you got yourself a home console quality controller.
Right on. And a lot of people just don't see it that way. Me, I'm all for weird shit, but yeah, I don't know what Nintendo's doing. It's driving me nuts. But I give them credit because they've made money doing what they're doing.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen a lot of games that aren't come up for the PC4 on wide qualities, and then within months you see them in the used bins or the used shelves.
And let's be honest with each other. I mean, you could have got NES and Super NES emulation from Japan, China, wherever else for the longest time. They've been making knockoff Famiclones forever. And all
Yeah.
Nintendo did was say, hey, I'm going to brand it, put our name on it, and make money on it. About freaking time.
Only thing I don't like is these are the same crappy ROMs that I've been playing with emulators that they didn't even bother to try to upgrade any.
Right, exactly. It's just the way that it is.
Like Star Fox 2, everybody is saying, oh my god, Star Fox 2's out on this new NES, it's a new game, it's a new game.
Technically it is.
I've been playing it since about 2006 or 7.
Steve, the version you're playing was a prototype version. The finalized version is so much harder. Because they finally leaked the ROM of that today, and I've been playing with it. They limit all kinds of things on the finalized version. Like, the version you're playing is kind of like easy mode for this game. I'm serious. If you can get a ROM from the actual SNES Classic Edition, get it.
I've always found that funny about classic gaming is where they tried to make games seem longer than they are just by making them that damn hard.
Yeah. Well, still, I mean, it's very difficult the way that it was originally programmed or meant to be programmed.
Well, the game was pretty much done. I think they canceled it maybe 4 to 6 weeks before it's supposed to hit store shelves for some reason.
Oh yeah. It's one of those things, and you got to figure, like, before they were going to get ready to release Star Fox 2, they were getting ready to release basically what was known as Star Fox 64. And they're like, a lot of the game elements that were in Star Fox 2, we put in Star Fox 64. And to put a game that can do the same that Star Fox 64 can do on the SNES makes no sense, because it's just going to make us look stupid. And that's why Star Fox 2 never came out.
Yeah, but if you notice, there's all sorts of references to Star Fox 2 and Star Fox 64.
Oh, yeah.
Because when they meet Wolf and Pig and all, they're talking about, yes, we're meeting again. This is our time. I won't let you beat me like you did last time. And I was like, last time you guys weren't in the first Star Fox.
Yeah, and that's just one of those things, because it was, granted, yes, Star Fox 64 and Star Fox 2 were supposed to come out pretty much months apart from each other. And eventually Nintendo's like, this is just stupid, let's not do that, because we're trying to tell people you need to have both systems when we need to really bolster N64. And that's why what happened.
And I'm noticing the PS4 generation, most of the games I've picked up for it are remasters. This has been the biggest generation consoles I've seen for remasters of just the generation below those games than I've ever seen.
Well, let me put it this way. Have you gotten Uncharted 4?
I just got it today.
Oh my god. The Lost Chapters?
No.
Dude.
No.
Oh, you gotta get those. And then, of course...
They had it for $9, so I picked it up.
You got PlayStation Network? Like you're part of the PSN? PlayStation Plus?
Yeah.
Get right now, Infamous
No.
Second Son is available for download. Get it. It's good.
Oh.
It's free if you're part of the PlayStation Plus. It's so good.
Nice.
I wish they would do a whole Infamous
That's what I
remastered,
picked up today, but yeah.
but still, it's good.
Yeah.
Hell, I still rock my
I picked
Vita.
up today because they were cheap. Yeah.
Vita makes a great secondary controller for
I got
PS4.
Dark Side. I've never seen a cheap, decently priced PlayStation 4 controller yet. I rarely feel in the mood to spend $50 on a new controller.
Get the Vita. It makes for a backup PlayStation 4 controller. In fact, if you got Fallout 4 for the PlayStation 4, there's certain screens and menus and stuff you can access exclusively on the Vita. And they didn't even advertise that as a feature.
Nice.
Yep, it's a great controller, so if you ever have a buddy over, just whip them your Vita and you're good to go. That's just me. I'm a Vita hoarder. I'm sorry. I love some of the games that are on Vita. A lot of people's like,
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
There's like a lot of people's like, oh, Vita's dead. I'm like, I got a PlayStation TV and I got a Vita. I'm happy.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like you're saying 3DS is dead. Yeah, right. Look at the games that's coming out for it, or the games you can still get cheap. How can a system be totally dead like the PSP when I could pick up both of the God of War games for the PSP for under $20?
Yeah. PS Vita is just freaking awesome. I'm sorry. And you can pick up all the PSP games on the Vita for pretty much dirt cheap. If you get a Vita that's like fresh out of the box, you can hack it to run anything. I mean, it's a beautiful emulation machine. And a lot of people just go, no. I'm like, as long as you, how can I put it best? As long as you get all the good stuff on it before you update it, you're set.
Most people declare something dead too quick nowadays. Oh, the PlayStation 4 is dead. Why? Because it doesn't have this A-list title that another system has.
Oh, well, the PS4 is not dead yet. I mean, granted, yes, you can get the big deluxe model of it, but I hate the deluxe model. Have you heard one of those things fire up? It sounds like a jet engine getting ready to fire off. Fuck that. I don't want all that fan noise. I mean, it's bad enough the PS4 Model 1 I have makes a lot of fan noise. And by the way, that's what we're streaming on now.
People, yeah, and don't forget, they have said that in current generations follow, it's not going to be a big jump like the PlayStation 3 to the floor. It'll be increments from now on.
Oh yeah, and I mean, you know, it's just what it is. I mean, I like what I like, and it is what it is, and it's a great system. And hell, why don't I have you on PlayStation like Plus? Why hasn't that happened yet?
Because I was on it once.
Oh, you got me still?
Because I'm not on PlayStation Plus. I'm just...
Well, even if you're just on PlayStation Network, you can still add me. We can play that new Ghostbusters game and be stupid for a couple hours. Yes, that new Ghostbusters game is pretty stupid, but it's kind of like a Dungeon Siege game where you just... like a dungeon crawler where you just shoot shit all day long.
Nice.
You remember Sanctum of Slime? Kind of like the follow-up
I like the PS...
Follow-up to the PS3
Yeah.
Ghostbusters? Yeah, it's like that.
Don't say it's good, because there's nothing scarier than Ghostbusters fanboys. They scare me.
I'm not a Ghostbuster fanboy, I assure you. Granted, I hang out with the four-state Ghostbusters, but how can I put it best? I drink with them, they're cool people, but I'm not of them. Don't get me wrong, I'll wear a proton pack all day long, but it's gotta be old school. It can't be that new shit. Speaking of bad remakes, did you get the news about, what's it called? Those witches. Oh, damn it. Hocus Pocus. Did you see about that?
Hocus Pocus, yeah.
The Hocus...
Oh, make a cheap DTV hotshot. I wish I would have done it now.
Yeah, they're going to do a TV remake of Hocus Pocus. Because granted, there for the longest time, Bette Midler said there will be another Hocus Pocus. Deal with it. And nobody's wanted to listen to that. And to me, it's like, look at what happened with Ghostbusters. How long has everybody bugged for a Ghostbusters 3? How long has Bill Murray said, no, I'm not fucking doing this? This is what happens when you beg for a sequel, and the original cast isn't fully 100% involved. You wind up with a shitty remake. To me, it's like, stop asking for this. This is how you wind up with a Labyrinth 2 with a dead David Bowie. We don't need that shit.
And don't forget, most people really forget that the Ghostbusters game for the Xbox 360 and the PS3 is the official Ghostbusters 3 sequel.
I know somebody who did an episode about that, but I won't name who. There was also an episode about the fact that the original Ghostbusters movie was in fact a ripoff of Filmation's original live-action show. But again, I won't name who.
Yeah.
No wonder who did that. I know the Taurus de Terra was involved in that other one, because he's an asshole, and fuck that prick. Don't get me wrong, I love the Taurus de Terra. He's a sweetheart most days. Fuck him.
Yeah.
He's a good guy most days. Fuck him.
It just amuses me how if the property is ignored long enough, like Star Wars before the first prequel come out, the fans begin to franchise, and their direction is the only way it should go.
Right. And to me, like, let me put it this way. I would have been perfectly fine with a Ghostbusters remake. Perfectly fine with a Ghostbusters remake. You could even had an all-female cast, but the original Ghostbusters would have had to hand off the torch. Even if you didn't have the guy who played Egon, even if Bill Murray wasn't involved, you could have had Dan Aykroyd hand off that torch. And you know Dan Aykroyd would have been all for it.
Well, the sad thing is in the remake, well, you probably talked about this, they had Dan Aykroyd in the scene where he could have just played the guy and given him the franchise. And that originally, Zedmore was supposed to be the black woman's uncle.
Yes.
Just put those two little details in there and...
Done. But no. It just, to me, it's like, how do we de-evolve from transgender rights to remakes? I don't know, it's just me, right? I blame this. I blame the cold cock. The cock is always to blame. When in doubt, blame the cock. Or the big clit, if you won't be technical about it. Little cock, big clit, same difference.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, it's Captain Public Access Channel. You ever watch his show?
No.
Oh my god, he plays a spaceman trapped in space with a PlayStation camera. And he's like this spaceman, he does... Look it up on YouTube. All I gotta say. It's really, really, really good. They give you some Skull vodka. No, that it costs way too much. Buy one of my former sponsors, Cold Cock Whiskey. It's good for you. It'll help your cock grow. Not really. Former sponsor, I might add, because they changed their marketing director after the whole big hubbub with, like, Deadpool went through. And it kind of pissed me off because, hey, they were sponsoring, like, tiny local bands and me, and then all of a sudden they get big movie contract, they hire a new marketing director, and fuck you, Sasha. But I still like the alcohol. I don't know why. I just do. It's just that damn good. So anyways, what other movies can we talk about? We haven't talked in a while, Steve. I hear you fumbling with the microphone. You know you're not supposed to do oral with the microphone,
Yeah, I
right?
was checking.
Just because it looks like a cock doesn't mean you stick your mouth into it.
Yeah, I was, I've got to go. Carl's bugging me because we supposedly have a show tonight around 8:30 or 9. So I got to go make him stop crying. get into a hissy fit.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, Steve. Give me your plugs. Tell me what you're all about. Tell people where to watch and where to hear this latest show with Carl. And Carl needs to be on an episode with me. We need to chat about some shit. But that's neither here nor there. Give your,
Yeah.
your websites and whatever you want to give here, and we'll call it a night.
Okay. Well, go to blogtalk.com
Don't you mean
Geeksploitation Radio or look
Blog
at
Talk
Geeksploitation
Radio? Or is it just Blog Talk?
www.blogtalk. Yeah, blogtalk.com /Geeksploitation Radio, or go to the Steve's Video Store archive page on Facebook. All the shows will be there.
Are you sure it's not blogtalkradio.com? I think you might want to look at that.
Blogtalkradio.com, yeah.
Okay, because you keep saying Blog Talk, and I don't want people to get lost. All right. And you're on Facebook and what other social medias?
Just Facebook.
Just Facebook?
I'm 46 years old fart. I don't deal with you young people stuff.
I'm not that young. You can link up your Instagram, your Tumblr, your Facebook, and your Twitter, so it's all together. Use them fucking hashtags.
Okay.
Or as we like to say, because we're old people, pound signs. Use them pound signs. But yeah, check them out. They're good people.
Okay.
You need to tell both Carl and Eric we need to have a podcast. All four of us. We'll get on like Skype and do what we did tonight.
Oh, wait. Here. I gotta say this. This show and every show that I've do this weekend is dedicated to Eric, who's in the hospital with some serious health programs. You need to get your butt out of there quick, because we need you healthy, because we don't want you sick.
And Eric, you got some DVDs I want my fucking hands on, so you better fucking wake up or put that shit in your will, because I need that shit. Yeah, I'm an asshole. Deal with it.
Okay.
Alright, y'all. Well, we love you. As always, as I like to say, until next slide, creep it real in unpleasant screams. Alright, we're dead. I will let you go off to your people, and we are all set, my friend.